All right, guys, I'm so excited to see all of you here tonight. I'm going to wait just like 2 minutes before we get started, but I wanted to introduce Dr. Anna Maria Temple. She is a functional pediatrician. Do you want to just give them just a little bit of your background? Because your elevator spiel so that they understand who you are.
Got it. So I'm a traditionally trained pediatrician. I'm board certified. And because my children were super sick with illnesses in 2007, I changed the way they ate. And in fact, one of the first things I came across in my mission to change my children's diet was a blog post by this lady about Subway sandwiches and the fact that it was an ingredient that is also found in yoga mats. And so with her help and continuous research, I was able to change my children's diets, nutrition, and then over the years, my kids have returned from chronic disease. They're able to thrive. And so I opened my own practice where I help treat children with less meds.
She's incredible. She's helped both of my children, and she's a friend. She's our pediatrician, and I just love her so much. And she's part of the story that I'm going to share with you tonight. And this is something I just want to give a caveat that I feel very emotional about still. The story is still going. It's continuing, and I'm in the middle of it. And so to do this live with you today is just a special thing, because I think not sharing it would make me sad, because there's just too much happening with what's going on right now with my brand new book coming out tomorrow, Food Babe Family. The introduction of this book is a story that I'm going to share with you here today, and I'm going to tell you what happened 3 weeks before this book is coming out tomorrow. So like what happened 3 weeks ago, and you guys are going to be shocked and mad and upset, and we're going to get through it together, and we are going to figure out a solution together. And I'm looking to you guys out there to help me figure this out. And I'm looking to experts like Dr. Anna Maria Temple, who can help push these issues forward, because what's happening to our children in schools is unacceptable in terms of the types of ingredients and food that they're being served, and that the government is in
allowing. And it's allowing.
Right.
Yeah.
So where do I start?
So with the story. Start with kind of the story.
Okay. So when my daughter, Harley, started going to school, I noticed that there was a pizza truck every single Friday at noon that would show up, and huge stacks of Dominos would be delivered. And at the time, my daughter didn't stay for lunch, but I knew that this was an issue that I wanted to tackle at the school, and I wanted to help change. And so as soon as she was old enough, she was 5, and she would start staying till 3, and she'd start bringing a lunch to school, I decided that I wanted to change this. So the first meeting of the year, even before school started, I went to the parent meeting. I was really nervous, and I remember leaving to go to the parent meeting, and my husband wasn't with me because he was taking care of the kids, and he knew I was going to do this and bring this up, and he's just he could tell that I was so nervous. And being a new mom, not everyone knowing who I am, the food babe that has changed all these giant corporations for the better, they just know me as Harley's mom. And so I approached it in the same respect, but I came armed with a lot of information. So after we had the school orientation for that year, someone had kind of raised their hand or yelled out, "Are you going to bring back Pizza Friday this year?" And, for all the parents that have to make a school lunch every single day, it's a nice reprieve not to have to make something every Friday. And I agree. I mean, I make a school lunch every day. You make a school lunch every day.
Every day. Yep.
And it's nice to feel okay, I'm covered this day, right? It's just a nice breather. And so I understand the need for something like this for parents. But I don't understand the need for something like Domino's. And so I raised my hand right after I heard that, and I said, well, is there an opportunity to change it to something healthier? Because Domino's is using an ingredient called TBHQ, and I know that affects the immune system of children. And so that's one particular ingredient I don't want to have every single Friday at the school. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that ingredient.
Yeah, because it's a favorite, because it's also in Halloween candy. Yeah.
So Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yes. And so, looking into it, because I'm on the same mission as Bonnie, is that actually can enlarge the liver, it can enlarge the kidneys, it can cause seizures, and it can cause tumors. And those are not okay. And one of the things I hear all the time, it's not that much, it's just a small ingredient once on Fridays. And I was like, well, is it just once on Friday? And is it also once at Halloween? And then it's also, what about at Easter? And what about at Christmas and Thanksgiving? And then it adds up. And whenever we're just kind of dismissing something that it's not a big deal, is just a little bit adds up. And here's the other thing about toxic chemicals. The body doesn't know what to do with them. So it's not like you know that you're peeing it out. You don't know that you're pooping it out. You don't know you're sweating it out, because it's not a food. It's a chemical, and the body doesn't know what to do it. And some people have a problem with detoxification, which we hear all the time. Detox this and detox that. So we know that these chemicals can stay in our bodies, and over time, they add up a little bit more. Every Friday, a little bit more. And then on Halloween, a little bit more. And then before you know, you're in my office wondering, like, why does my child have ADHD? Why do they have eczema? Why do they have seasonal allergies? Why do they have reflux? Why do they have belly pain that they can't go to school? And the common theme is like, oh, it can be that. It can be TBHQ, because they're not having that much of it. But over time, it adds up, not to mention all the other things that come with TBHQ. It's alone its own ingredient.
Yeah, it's in Cheez-Its too, just to mention. But anyway, so this was an ingredient I brought up at that meeting, and the headmaster kind of looked at me and she said, well, we've tried a healthier pizza in the past and it didn't win over the kids, and we'll see, and so I was excited because, she said, we'll see, but I also was excited that many parents in the room stopped me after the meeting and they said, hey, thank you for bringing that up. That would be a great idea to do a healthier pizza. And there's an organic pizza chain right here in Charlotte. And so immediately I thought of that one in terms of one that could provide pizza for the school. And so after that meeting, I went back and I wrote a letter with all of my research showing all the different ingredients in Domino's pizza. Here's a printout of what I sent. But basically, I broke down each one of these ingredients: the GMO soybean oil, dimethyl polystyrene.
My favorites.
We'll get into that in a minute. Natural flavoring, all of the different artificial flavors that are in here, which if you guys don't know, artificial flavor was just recently banned in the FDA because it was linked to cancer. And so anyways, so what I did at that point was I just kind of like waited. So the headmaster wrote back and she's like, Vonnie, food is a very controversial subject. And, some families have different values. And, I just want to let you know that, she just basically told me in so many words that, like, this is probably not going to happen and it's going to come down to cost. And so I said, okay, I can figure this out in terms of cost. So the first thing I did was just call the organic pizza chain here in Charlotte. And to my surprise, within the first 5 minutes of the conversation, she agreed to match Domino's pizza prices. And it was the coolest thing ever, because I was like, oh my gosh, okay, price is not an option. This is the coolest thing ever. So immediately I wrote back to the headmaster, told her the news, and she shortly agreed to switch to organic pizza every single Friday at my daughter's school. Can you even imagine what a huge accomplishment this was? I was on cloud nine. I went to Harley's checkup appointment at Dr. Anna Maria Temple's office. I told her this story, and what did you do?
I was so impressed because I have tried to go to our local schools, my kids' different schools, and I tried to explain the same thing about lunches and offer, and I was asked to leave. I was so excited about the reception, and I love the the resourcefulness, can't speak, and then the fact that we have this fabulous pizza place in town that agreed to the whole thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, all the moons and suns are aligned. This is the most amazing thing. So I actually sent a thank you note to the pizza place and also to the headmaster of your school, because I'm like, people need to be acknowledged. Most of the time we're all like, and so didn't do this, and I don't like this, whatever. And so we're always putting negative reviews. We're no problem. But when somebody does something great, we're not often reaching out and just letting them know that this is really important. And I said, food is an issue. Food is difficult. Food is a social thing. Ingredients are a thing. And most people are not open-minded enough to this. And the fact that a school, I was like, what? I love that you're such pioneers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope that you are the voice of change, because all it takes is one school, one person fighting for the ingredients and one physician, and it just takes one person and then one school. I'm like, may you be that school that changes the world for the rest of our kids.
Yeah. And so I was so floored by this that she wanted to send a letter to the headmaster and to the pizza chain. And that was the coolest thing ever. And so this is now a year and a half ago, right? And they've been having pizza all year long. And so as I was writing my book and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to open the book with, the first chapter of this new book that's going to be out tomorrow, it was this story. I wanted everyone to know this story so that they could be inspired to change something at their school and with their kids. And I was so excited about it that at the beginning of this school year, I sent a note to the headmaster letting her know that I featured the story in my new cookbook, and that I didn't name the school by name just to protect the privacy of my daughter and everyone involved, but I did publish the letter that Dr. Anna Maria Temple sent to her in this book, in the the first few pages of this book.
Which, by the way, I was like, what?
And so we had the first week of Pizza Friday at school this year, and it was awesome. And I even sent a note to the local pizza chain and thanked them profusely for doing that all of last year and was looking forward to this year. So I feel like I crossed all the T's and dotted the I's and was not buttering up everybody, but just acknowledging them that they were doing this amazing thing and that I still was so appreciative of it and it didn't go overlooked. And I was like looking at that and looking forward to giving my $1 on Pizza Friday for my child to participate in Pizza Friday. Well, 3 weeks before this is out tomorrow, so 3 weeks ago, I was stopped by the headmaster right after I dropped my daughter off for school, and she told me the news that they would be switching to Dominos. The feeling I had at that moment was, you can only imagine my whole body just spinning at that moment. Like, after a full year of organic pizza, now going back to Domino's. And I had what felt like a million questions just like pop up in my brain. Like, whoa, what happened? How did it break down? Like, I sent these letters, like everybody's on board. Like, we've already had it last week. Like, what happened? And I didn't know even how to handle it. Barely my coffee was like kicking in if you guys drop kids off at school. I was just so floored by the response. But I rolled down the window and I said, well, what happened? Like, what's going on? And she's like, they're just really busy and there's just some scheduling things and we've just made the decision and it's final and I'm sorry and I just wanted to let you know. And I said, okay. And I didn't know what to say because I didn't have a lot of information. And I did say this one thing, but I was like, well, what about a different pizza chain? Because there's lots of pizza chains that have way better ingredients than this processed garbage, right? And I didn't say processed garbage to her, but that's what I was thinking in my brain. And as soon as I left the park, I was just like 2 seconds out of the parking lot, I had the owner of the local pizza chain on speed dial. And I was like, what's going on? What happened? What broke down? And she's like, oh, I've been waiting for a phone call from the school. And I'm like, oh, really? I was like, well, why haven't you guys talked? Like, what's going on? Like, what's this thing with the scheduling? Like, why are, like, what's happening? They just told me they're moving back to Domino's. And she told me that, you know, they had basically lost money for the entire year to give, you know, organic pizza to the school at the same prices as Domino's. And that's amazing that that company would have done that for an entire year. And she's like, you know, I think in order to make this go long term for many, many years, I'm just going to have to increase the price of the pie by like $4. And we're talking about, by the way, like 8 pizzas. 6 regular, 2 gluten-free. And so this is around $32 per week extra. And I said, oh, that's no problem. I can fundraise for this. I can get this money. We can get it anonymously donated, whatever we need to do to keep this pizza program going. And I immediately emailed the headmaster 2 seconds later and said, hey, I talked to the owner of Pure Pizza, and I just want to let you know, I want to talk to you about a proposal tomorrow morning. Can we meet? Can we talk about this? And she wrote back and she says, I'm sorry. We've made our decision. I will be sending the email to all parents shortly. And I wrote back again. And I'm like, I know what happened with Pure Pizza. It's about cost. I'm willing to donate this money anonymously, whatever it takes to just keep having organic pizza at the school. And she wrote back. She didn't actually write back. She just sent the letter to all the parents. And that basically ruined my whole week and my whole day. And it's the only thing I could think about. And it's when you're so passionate like myself and an activist and ingredients are so important to you, it was like, I just felt like I had been kicked in the stomach. And I remember sending you the letter that I sent shortly to all the parents. Like, the only thing I knew what to do next was like, keep fighting, right? Like, I just want everyone to know here that like when Kraft said no to me, when they said, like, when I went to their headquarters with 270,000 signatures on a petition, which ended up going actually up to 350,000 signatures. When I went to their headquarters, they told me, sorry, we'll have to agree to disagree. We're not going to remove artificial food dyes from mac and cheese. That didn't deter me. I kept going. And they told me no 4 or 5 times before they eventually had to remove artificial food dyes from mac and cheese. And so that's the kind of tenacity that I have. And so I just don't stop. And so I thought of every single scenario of what I could do to change this. And I even called like the people working at the organic pizza chain to say, hey, did you get in a fight with the school? Like, what, like, is there something behind the scenes that I don't know about that's not happening, that like something went down and like someone's mad, and like, is it just a miscommunication and all these little children's bodies just in the way of this miscommunication? Like, why are we letting them suffer as a result of this, right? And so I said, I've got to do the next step. And, so the next morning, because she didn't respond to me, I immediately stopped her after Carline, and I was like, I just don't understand. And my book had just come off, hot off the press, early copies. I had this with me. I gave it to her, and I said, I really want you to reread the letter the pediatrician sent to you and think about this. And, this was 3 weeks ago. I've given it some time. Since then, I wrote a letter to all the parents. I shared this list of ingredients in Domino's with them, what each one of these chemicals do. And I shared the fact that we're going to be celebrating Pizza Friday a little differently. And that is, I'm going to be sending my own pizza with Harley every single Friday and putting it in a little warming pouch. It's called Warmables. If anybody wants to go look it up, I think it's warmables.com. And she's going to be having homemade pizza every Friday. And I just wanted other parents to know that their child wouldn't be the only one left out if they decided not to participate in Domino's, because we have such a small school. And it was amazing. So many parents did write to me and like say thank you. And that was really encouraging. And the next step was to figure out what was going to happen with Harley, because I didn't want, like, one of the things, and this is something that you can really talk on because I love your perspective on this. One of the things a lot of parents say when kids are having fun at a birthday party, eating a bunch of crap, or at school participating in Domino's Fridays, or doing these situations where you're putting your child's health at harm because they're consuming ingredients they shouldn't be consuming. Parents have this feeling that they're missing out, that they're going to miss out on all of those chemicals. And I just want you to share your perspective on that.
Yeah, well, it's funny because you're like, well, what is the next step? So I've had asked what the next step is when in my clinic, when my kids were getting better, they were healthier, they needed less medications, they were, thriving. And so I was started teaching during checkups to the parents this whole thing about chemicals and food and ingredients. And the parents are like, and I'm like, we're not. And it was the same thing, but they're going to feel left out, but it's not going to be fun. It's not a fun childhood if you can't have sugar and if you can't have sprinkles and all the things. So I was like, you know what? Forget the parents. So I started talking to the kids. And I looked at kids, so let's take Lunchables for a second. And I had a lot of parents, they're like, it's too hard to make lunch. And I was like, I got you. And they're like, so we need to buy Lunchables. So I was like, okay, cool. So parents over here, kids over here. And I was like, okay, thanks so much. So I would turn to the 5-year-old or the 6-year-old and I would take the Lunchable. I mean, I didn't have him in the office, but I said, what I need you to do, I need you to go home and I need you to highlight the words you understand. You're in kindergarten, you're in first grade, you know milk, you know bread, you know ham. So you're just going to highlight the words you know. And if you know more than 50%, I went like really gentle. If you know more than 50% of the words on a Lunchable ingredient box, we will call it food. If you don't know, then we're going to call it a chemical experiment and I need you to throw it in the trash and never eat it again. Do we have a deal? 100% of the children were like, let's do it. And I had them come back to clinic and they changed the way they ate. And the parents were annoyed at me because they're like, you just made our life so much harder. But the kids were like, well, I'm not eating that because that looks like a chemical experiment. My point is that when us adults, we come in with a lot of background. I come from a communist country. My family is always in food scarcity mentality. They're always afraid that they're never going to have food, even though we're in the United States, but it's that thing. When you're a foreigner, the other thing that happens is that, we need to acclimate. We have to eat, and I believe your family shared in the same stuff. And we have to acclimate and eat the food, and we're not thinking about it because we're feeling like we're being disrespectful to the country in some way. So what I'm saying by adults, we have a lot of preconceived notions, how we were raised, the fears within us. The children don't. So if we could just break it down to simple things. So my favorite part is I explain to the kids what we're doing, why we're doing it. The whole reason I got on Instagram, circa 2011, because I'm like, if I can get on Instagram and children who have social media can understand what I'm saying, they're going to change.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the big corporations don't listen. Sometimes parents don't listen. Listen, my husband and I, no judgment here. No judgment. My husband and I fought over food for 5 years until we were able to come together as a family and change our ingredients together. So it's hard. And the children, do they fight? But I'm from a communism, so we just kind of rolled with it. Of course it was gentle. Of course I was nice about it, but out the stuff went. So my point is that we go to the basics.
Yeah.
We go to the kids. And so I love part of the story that when you got yourself so upset by what was going on, it's literally you went to the child. Because I love what you said.
So as this was all going down, I've kept Harley abreast of like what's going on in our lives in terms of ingredients, our food. She's been my little brainchild over here next to me. Since she was 10 months old, she would be picking up Skittles and Snickers packages, at the checkout that's right at her level. And I would be teaching her about the ingredients, even though I knew she didn't understand it. But I just wanted to mold her and make her the next generation healthy eaters to know the truth about the food industry. And so when this whole Domino's thing for the last 2 years has been going down, the saga of Harley, you're going to be staying for lunch soon. And on Fridays, they have Domino's pizza. Mommy's going to try to change that. Here's why. She's been part of the entire conversation since day one. So that week, I was like, I don't know how she's going to take this. Like, is she going to be upset? Like, I was really reeling. I was going through that experience of like, is she going to feel like she's missing out? And this was one of the things I heard from so many parents after I sent that letter about what's really in Domino's to our school. And she was in the bath, and I just casually mentioned to her in there, I said, hey, I heard that your school might be changing back to Domino's. What do you think? And she just looked at me with her mermaid Barbie in hand, very nonchalantly, and said, Mom, can't you just send me pizza? Like, I just want olives, green peppers, and red peppers, please. And I was like, what? That easy? Like, sure, no problem. And she's like, yeah, that's what I want. It's gonna be so good. And I was like, okay, done. So I was like, all right, she's not even like anywhat fazed by this, right? Like, not even fazed by this. So fast forward to the first Pizza Friday where they're having Domino's, and I'm making homemade pizza from scratch, which the recipe is actually, believe it or not, already in this book, Food Babe Family, comes out tomorrow. I'm making this pizza, and I'm putting it in the little warming pouch, and I, send it to school with her, and I like pick her up from school, and I just cannot wait to hear how the first day of Pizza Friday went. That wasn't, the local organic chain. And I said, hey, Harley, so how was Pizza Friday? And she's like, oh my gosh, it was so delicious. And I said, really? And she's like, yeah, it was so good, Mom. And I was like, better than the organic pizza that you used to have delivered? And she's like, oh yes, way better. And I was like, okay, my work is done here. Like, my daughter is on board. This is amazing. It made me feel like a superhero hearing that from my own daughter. And I was like, gosh, all of this stuff that goes in your head as a parent worried about your children is just garbage, and you need to not listen to it and do the right thing. And what this experience taught me, let me just tell you, boy, did it teach me a lot in terms of parenting. The first thing it taught me is that your kids are going to be okay, right? And they're going to be just fine. But the biggest lesson and the biggest gift I have given her is now she's in a situation where she's not the majority. She's standing out. She's speaking out in a way saying, I'm not going to participate in this Domino's Pizza Friday. I mean, she's not, protesting in her class or shaming anyone for eating Domino's, but she's knows that she's different in the information that she knows about food. And she's learning to stand out in a crowd and stick up for her beliefs. And that lesson is the biggest gift of this whole situation, and the biggest gift to me as a parent, to recognize that this isn't going to be the first time this happens. This is just the beginning of her school life. She's only 6 years old, and she's going to have a million situations where she's going to be encountering McDonald's and Burger King and Bojangles and Chick-fil-A and all of that stuff all the time for the rest of her life. And if I can make these muscles now, where she's so, what do they say? The brain between 0 and 7 is the most...
Oh, it's most impressionable.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
And if I can do that now, like, she's going to be such an amazing human being and be able to, like, stick up for herself. And that is something that took me about a week and a half to 2 weeks to come around to see and understand, because I was so mad. And even though there's been, Domino's is going to be, delivered this Friday at the school, this story is far from over. And this is something that I'm going to continue to work on. I haven't figured out exactly the next steps, but if you guys have any ideas of what I should do next, please DM me and share your opinion, your strategies, anything after hearing this story, because I believe that all of those little bodies in that school should have access to real whole foods and not have to be subjected to GMO soybean oil cellulose, natural flavors, artificial flavors, hydrogenated soybean oil, dimethyl polysiloxane. Now, you love this dimethyl polysiloxane. Tell everyone about this ingredient. By the way, this is the same ingredient you would find in silly putty.
And Chick-fil-A.
And Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A.
Yes. And Chick-fil-A too. Because everybody's like, no, these are all, doesn't matter. So this fun anti-foaming agent that is not allowed in any other country but the United States, fun fact, is actually been shown to do corneal opacities, which means like your eyes like not glaze over, but the opacity means that you can't see. And then you can have loose poops and the corneal opacities. I was like, wow, okay. So again, and we're just kind of putting it in our food because it's not foaming. That's just disgusting. I'm like, why do we need that? And then on top of that, by the way, the hydrogenated soybean oil is a trans fat, and the FDA has made illegal to have trans fats in food over 0.5 milligrams. So if it's under 0.5 milligrams, they can say it doesn't have trans fat. But when you see hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated, that is a trans fat that contributes to our children's obesity, diabetes. Oh yeah, by the way, 1 in 3 children are overweight in the United States as of now. Diabetes, which in 1999, when I was in residency, whatever people, there was no such thing as type 2 diabetes in children. There was 0 cases of type 2 diabetes in children in 1999. Now it's 1 in 6. Mm-hmm. That is not because we're getting genetically better. That doesn't sound like we're better.
Yeah.
And then the hydrogenated stuff also is stroke, heart disease. And so what are the number 1, 2, and 3 killers in the United States? All of those things.
Yeah.
That's what takes us down. So, and by the way, chronic disease begins in childhood and shows up in adulthood. So let's just take hydrogenated soybean oil for a second, just for fun. So heart disease, you're like, wait, what? Like heart disease, when I'm 40, like a person that is 40 or 50 is gonna have a heart attack. And they're like, oh, it's because of the bacon or whatever I'm eating now. Actually, in studies done on children who are in car accidents, at autopsy, they already saw the building of the coronary arteries, the thickening of the coronary arteries that later on in life contributes to heart attacks. So when we walk around and go, no, it's fun, children are fun, they can have all the different foods. And by the way, my kids had all the foods that she fought against. I purchased all of them. So when we are like, oh my God, and I want to talk about too about how we approach our children, but when we think that it doesn't matter, it does matter. Every little bit counts, and our children's health, because they're kids for like a couple of years. I mean, honestly, they're like 18 years, and then they're adults for another 70 years. And so we want to build a foundation where they're healthy the whole time. It's not normal to be on blood pressure medicine at 50. I'm 50 years old. It's not normal to be on cholesterol meds. It's not normal to be on diabetes meds. That's not normal. We have a problem, and it starts with our food, the foundation of food, and these ingredients. And I want to talk about because one of the things, so my children are 22, 20, and 17. So I have the opportunity to look back to see did they have a bad childhood? Because I learned about this when they were 2, 4, and 6. So I changed took away their Lucky Charms and Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Pop-Tarts and Toaster Strudels and Domino's Pizza. You name it, my kids were eating it. And I took that away from them. I replaced it. Of course, I replaced it with good food and taught them how to eat good food. And I talked, just like you're doing with Harley, I taught them why they're doing it, why, the reason behind everything. Did we have fights? Of course we did. Did they complain? Of course they did. Did they walk into my pantry like, there's nothing to eat here? Of course they did. Did they go like, my friend's house is so much more fun? I was like, here's their cell phone number, move in, it's fine. So, of course we had all those, but that's what they're supposed to do, but that doesn't make you a bad mom or a bad dad, because that's the problem. We then go, oh, they're mad at the food I have in the house, therefore they're going to think I'm a bad mom. That has nothing to do. Our job is to protect them, right? Yeah. And so now I've asked them, they're like, as I said, 22, 20, and 17. None of them go, you know what would have been fun? We would have had a fun childhood if you would have let us have Chick-fil-A. It would have been a fun childhood if we could have eaten Dominos. It would have been a fun childhood if we could eat school cafeteria food. When they look back at their childhood, not one of them is like, remember the snacks in the pantry that were not Doritos? No, they don't remember that. They remember the fun times we had, the family time, the quality time, the fact that I respected them, I taught them the things. And now they're in college and they're cooking for themselves and they read ingredients.
I know, I'm so proud of your daughter. I think it's so awesome.
Right? And even my son, because, like my daughter, we can go, okay, firstborn daughter, but like my son, who was like a behavioral problem in school and was a disaster, is like I call him for recipes. And awesome. He is like probably more meticulous about the ingredients, I think, than my daughter. Yeah. What I'm saying is, it takes time, it takes perseverance. And yes, are they going to be different in school? Yes. But we teach them like how to be different. We teach them perseverance. We teach them tenacity. We teach them why. We don't shame them. We don't make them feel bad. But it's about how we approach this topic with our children. The same way we approach social media and pornography on thing and all the things, because it's all the things. It's not one thing. Yeah. And so I love that you asked her and she was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like my high schooler eats his lunch that his mama makes because I am so happy to make his lunch every day. He even has a little pack that's like it's like a toddler squeezy thing.
I see you making your own smoothies and putting them in the toddler squeezy thing. And I bought those toddler squeezy things. And by the way, the line is not accurate. Like if you go over the line and you try to close that thing, it just...
Correct. But I have a trick.
What's your trick?
I learned a trick.
Okay,
you actually you got to squeeze the middle. And then you fit more in it.
Oh.
Because I was doing the same thing and I'm like, darn it, I was saying expletive, bad words.
No, I use them all the time and I keep them in the freezer. So like they're always available.
Correct. So I put them in the freezer. And so I asked my 17-year-old, like, does anybody make fun of your lunch? And he's like, no, initially they had something to say, but then they're like, actually they're jealous because my lunch always is better than everybody else's because it's got all kinds of variety stuff in there. So, but again, I taught them how to eat and it's okay. Yeah. And it's okay if you don't have it figured out today. It took me, we're on the journey for, 16 years. Yeah. We've been on a journey for 16 years and it wasn't what it is right now. It's just one step at a time. Being aware that we can make a change. When we just give up and go, oh, that's Domino's, that's what they have, it's fun, they're just going to eat Domino's, your kids are going to have a certain belief. But if you teach them, here's the ingredients, this is why I prefer that you don't eat them, this is how it helps your body, this all makes your body strong, and have a discussion with them about it, they're going to be different. They're going to be stronger. They're going to be more likely to pay attention to their health. And it's so much better to prevent illness than try to undo it.
Yes. And I just, the reason why I find it so important to teach my kids the truth about real food is because I don't want them to feel like I did when I was little. I never wanted to go to school. I felt awful. I would wake up, I'd have eczema all over my face, asthma, I could barely breathe. I wasn't athletic because I didn't have the energy to do any of those sports. And I just felt completely foreign and I felt out of place. And I just want my kids to realize, like, if I get their health right and feed them right, they can literally, their brains can be functioning correctly, their bodies can be functioning correctly so that they can be the people who they were meant to be in this world sooner in life than I was able to experience because, I wasn't able to really figure out my calling in life until I got my health right. And now, I'm writing books. This is my 4th book, Food Babe Family. And now I want every family across America to have this book. It comes out tomorrow. I'm so excited for everybody to have it. If you haven't purchased your copy yet, please get it this week. It would mean the world to me if we make the bestsellers list so that we can continue this mission. Stick it to the food industry to tell them that people are paying attention to ingredients and we're not going to stand for anything further. So, one of the things I want to say back to Domino's is this dimethyl polysiloxane ingredient. It's just such a good one to talk about because if you look at it, if you look it up in the FDA literature online, it can be preserved with formaldehyde. That's probably why it makes you lose your eyesight, right? And have loose stools because it has formaldehyde in it, like a carcinogen. So it's one of these ingredients, again, that they don't use overseas. So if you buy a French fry in McDonald's in Britain, you don't find dimethyl polysiloxane there. But here in the United States, you do. And this is one of the reasons why it's so important to pay attention to ingredients and take back control of your health and not rely on our government agencies to prohibit these ingredients because the FDA is being influenced by these big food companies and the companies that make these chemicals. And I'll just give you a great example of how screwed up the chemical industry is in terms of regulation. Several years ago, they found that red number 3 caused cancer in lab animals. So they decided to ban it in cosmetics. However, at the last minute, the maraschino cherry industry, who is largely in cahoots with the alcohol industry, decided at the last minute to put in a loophole that allowed red number 3 in food to continue to be served, because they wanted to make those red maraschino cherries bright red for all those Shirley Temples and those fancy drinks at the bars. The FDA allowed it. So you're not allowed to have red number 3 on your lips, but you're allowed to eat it, and it causes cancer. This is an example of how screwed up our food system is. Just this week, which is so incredible, California banned red 3. And because it's such a huge market in California, I believe that red 3 will probably bite the dust across the United States, which will be incredible.
Yeah.
It's going to take several years, so still avoid, these products that have red 3. The other thing I want to mention about...
Can I talk about red 3 for 1 second?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people go, oh, it's in the maraschino cherries. It's in the children's Tylenol. So it's in baby Tylenol. Because what color is Tylenol? Oh, it's pink or red. What is it? It's Motrin. So you're like, oh, we're not going to eat maraschino cherry. But we're giving babies Tylenol with red 40 when they're like 2 months old, 3 months old.
This is insane.
And nobody says, oh, you know what else it's in? Amoxicillin. You know the number 1 antibiotic in the country is? Amoxicillin. Why is amoxicillin pink? Red 40. Oh, also, it's in ADD meds. And by the way, it's been shown to cause ADHD, but yet as in ADD meds, I was like, I called the pharmacy. I was like, because this is what I do now. I call the pharmacy. She calls food industry, so I call the pharmacy. And I was like, I'm sorry. Why is there red 40 in ADD meds? And they're like, well, that's what we get from the supplier. And I'm like, oh, okay. Alrighty. And also, too, in other countries, so when we lived in New Zealand, the red 40, if it was on anything, it specifically puts a warning on the bottle. Just like cigarettes have a warning, anything with red 40 in foreign countries has a warning that you're about to eat a food that has a dangerous chemical.
Yeah. It says may cause adverse effects on activity and attention in children. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why food manufacturers took out artificial food dyes in other countries, because they didn't want to put the warning label on their products. They wanted to avoid that. And they're like, oh, we can figure out a safer, better way to serve our products over there. So like Kellogg's, Fruit Loops here have artificial food dyes. Fruit Loops in the UK and Europe, they don't. That's not fair. It's hypocritical and unethical. And it's one of the reasons why I highlight that story actually about Kellogg's in my book, Food Babe Family, as well, to share with families the truth about what's happening in the food industry and how to arm your family with the truth. The first half of this book is all guidebook. It's charts, it's lists, it's 100 better snacks than goldfish. It's all the stuff that's practically going to help you live in this over-processed world. And so I'm just so excited for people to have it. Now, going back again to dimethylpolysiloxane. I'm sorry, I just
It's that
this
favorite
ingredient.
ingredient.
Sorry, F-bomb. Beep that out. Dimethylpolysiloxane is a hidden ingredient you would never guess where. Fountain Diet Cokes. So if you look at the back of a regular Diet Coke can or a bottle and you look at the ingredients, you'll never find this ingredient in it. But in a fountain drink, it is there because it's an anti-foaming agent. They don't want all the foam coming out of the machine.
Fountain drink is the machine thing, right? Yes, that's what you're talking about, the machine thing.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think fountain drinks tasted better than the regular ones when I used to drink soda. Is it the silly putty ingredient?
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
don't, and you can't look at the ingredients in a fountain because
because you're just
can't
going.
find those.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sneaky. Okay.
Very, very
Good one.
sneaky. Anyway, so just wanted to lay that information out for everyone who's still on Diet Coke and needs to stop.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was a lot easier talking about this than I thought it was because I had my friend, an expert here, Dr. Anna Maria Temple. She's a functional medicine pediatrician here in Charlotte, and she is one of the people that I go to for so much information about health. And, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a normal, regular, everyday person that decided to take back control of their health and learn about the food that I was eating. I know a lot about ingredients. I know a lot about food, but I don't know as much as she does in terms of the scientific reasons of how it affects the body and all of that, as well as like what to do when we all get the norovirus, which is, I call her and I'm like, should I go on this trip? She's like, don't you leave your house. You're getting this thing. Which happened last week. I just want to thank you so much for being part of this mission with me, because I would have to tell you, 10 years ago when I started this, over 10 years ago, I felt so alone. I really did.
It's a lonely, lonely world.
And there were certain activists that were out there, but there's a lot of them that didn't like me because I came on the scene, I was on the front of newspapers, I was getting all these big corporations to remove chemicals, and they're like, where does she come from? Like, who is this chick, right? And I just remember, like, not feeling respected. And from the moment I met you, you've always, respected me. And I just appreciate that, because that means a lot for someone who doesn't have the credentials to back up the information that I'm sharing. But I want everyone to know that they can feel empowered. They don't need to be a nutritionist or a scientist or a doctor to take control of their health and learn about their food. And that's why I've written 4 books and why this book's coming out tomorrow. And I'm just so thankful you're part of it.
But can I tell you though, one of the things is like, oh, you don't feel like you have credentials. So I have the MD behind my name. But let's talk about how much nutrition I learned in med school. Oh, right. Okay.
Sure,
17 hours. So it sounds like really fancy, like, ooh, medical doctor, ooh. And I went to Chapel Hill, amazing med school, fantastic, right? 17 hours of nutrition and 221 hours of pharmacology. And so when you look at that, as like, what I usually say to my warrior parents, and a lot of them are mamas. So my warrior parents is like, you become the expert in the thing that is affecting your family. I have my mamas that are like eczema experts. I have my nutrition experts, and you don't need the ingredients. You just need the passion. Because once you have the passion, because I was a doctor like every other doctor, and I was giving out meds. Guys, you have no idea how many meds I was giving out. I mean, I'm just saying, and I'm very transparent, and I'll tell you exactly what I used to do, and I'm like, oh, my bad. But I was just like everybody else, but I developed a passion because my children were sick and I couldn't take, and I was like, not okay for them to have all these illnesses and have these many medicines. And I developed a passion for nutrition and ingredients, and then got to know your work, and then that inspired me, and then I would refer back and I would continue on. But I didn't refer back to my med school. I looked at your blog post when I was like, I remember a time when I was looking at formula ingredients, and because I went to the store, MD store formula, and I'm like, it all looks the same, because when the drug companies come over to talk to us, they just told you they're like basically the same. So all you learn is from a marketing team about it until you actually dig into the ingredients and learn about the actual ingredients. Where I was like, I didn't know that's how it's sourced, and I don't, because of all the work that you did.
I mean, how is corn syrup solids?
Not sugar.
Okay.
Is it the number 1 ingredient?
For
Sick
a
kids.
baby that just was born. How is that even...
And on their website, it says not sugar. And I'm like, well, that's weird, because everywhere else it's sugar. Yeah.
Gosh.
But anyway, so that is to say that I'm like, all the work that you're doing, all the work that you guys are doing in whatever expertise and passion that you have, you don't need the fancy letters behind it. It's nice. I'm not going to lie. I like my MD degree, but it's nice, but it's not needed, because the passion, the dedication, and tenacity are really, really the main qualifications here that you have exemplified for so many people that helped change my family. So I'm honored to be on this journey with you.
I love you. So with that, I would love to, let's get some questions. Let's answer some questions before we go. And thank you so much, man. I am feeling like weight is off my shoulders telling you that story, because there's, I'm going to have to make updates to this book now. Another update I'm going to have to make to this book, and this is good news, is Kellogg's discontinued unicorn waffles.
No, they did not.
Yes, they did.
Yes.
So that's something I have to update here too, but.
Didn't they release that during COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the
With
best thing. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, so let's see. Let's get some questions here. I think if I click this button, I can look at the questions here. So there's 6 here. Let's see. where is your practice? Can we get guidance virtually? I have a 5 and 6-year-old and I want to do the best I can for them.
Yeah, so actually my practice is in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I can do virtual if you come into the clinic. You have to come in once yearly to see me, and then the rest can be done virtually.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't know that. That's good to know. Okay. Can you send me a photo of the domino sheet you shared in Messenger, please? So everybody wants to know about these ingredients right here. I can try to put it up like that, and you can screenshot it.
It's good because they're highlighted in red.
Yes, if that works and you can read it, great. But tomorrow, I'm going to release a blog post on this topic, and I'm going to reiterate the story and share it with you there. And I hope, if you can, leave a comment on that blog post if you have a really good idea on how to bring back Organic Pizza Fridays at my daughter's school.
And your school.
In your school, too.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like all these schools, because I mean, it's an atrocity at all the schools.
I mean, Domino's should not be served to children every single Friday. There's it's actually over 30 Fridays in a school year, in a typical school year, and that's way too much TBHQ, dimethylpolysiloxane, GMO soybean oil, artificial flavor, cellulose,
And when we're having something, a lot of people go, it's a treat. Let me explain a treat. When you have something on a weekly basis, it's now part of your diet. TBHQ is now part of your diet. A treat is like at Thanksgiving, we eat turkey. That's a treat. At Thanksgiving, I'm having a pumpkin pie. That's a treat. When you have TBHQ on a Friday on the regular, that is your diet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sorry. But it's...
Okay, so let's see some more questions here. I keep pressing the wrong button. Here we go. All right. This is a great one. How do we participate in Halloween? Do you throw away all the candy?
Oh, this is fun. Okay. I'll tell you if I have a good story. So as I'm known as the wellness doctor, right? And people know because I make a big stink about it. So my son, my youngest one, who used to be a sugar addict. So he would go...
I was a sugar addict, so I know.
So he would go to people's houses and eat all the Doritos because we didn't have any at the house and stuff. Anyway, after Halloween, he would get all this candy, take it to the middle school, put it in his locker, and then he would sell it. So he basically was a middle school candy lord. Yep. Humbling days.
So wait, you wouldn't let him eat it? Or
correct, no, because he knew they were going to be thrown out. So after a week, the rule was you can eat all the candy on Halloween, and then we're like, let's remove the ones with food coloring. And so we would do like a little barter system because my kids were, when they were young, we didn't have these options, like the
Yum Earth and all that stuff.
We didn't have any of that. So we would just not do food coloring as best I could. And then I'm like, fine, Halloween night, I would serve them a good meal because empty bellies are going to eat more candy than full bellies. So they would eat a good meal. Then they would eat whatever candy. And they knew for the rest of the week, each night they would get to pick 2 candies. And at the end of the week, they go in the trash. There's no money. It just goes in the trash. And so anyway, so he took them to school and sold them.
Wow.
On the candy market.
Wow. Okay. That is a unique approach. The approach at my house is a little different. There's this amazing woman. Her name is called the Switch Witch. I actually talk about it all in this book too.
She didn't exist.
Yeah.
10 years
she didn't
ago.
exist, right? So the Switch Witch comes to my house and she takes away all the toxic poisonous candy. She loves TBHQ from Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Oh, she loves it. She just, it just makes her more green and happy. Anyway, so she comes and takes all of the crap from my house. We leave it by the door, and then she magically turns them into presents. And it's like a mini Christmas at my house after Halloween. And I go a little bit overboard. I kind of take note of all the things my kids have been wanting all year. They both have birthdays in January right after Christmas, so they don't get like anything all year. They feel so bad. Actually, they get a lot of crap. But anyways, I try not to buy presents all the time. But man, how do you get out of the grocery store or wherever without buying something? Jeez. Anyways, 2 balloons came home from Terrace Teeter yesterday. It's just like that moment of like, I'm in the middle of a book launch. I just do not have the fight to like tell them no. Yeah, you can get the half deflated balloon for $18, Anyway, so the Switch Witch comes, she takes all the bad candy. I give them toys instead. They love that. And then I always have some version of a healthier treat available. So one of the things that I love is I love a dessert, but I love a real dessert with real ingredients. And so we have dessert every single day here. It's just not right before bed because the sugar kind of hypes up kids and chocolate and all that kind of stuff. We have it in the middle of the day during snack time. After the snack is like a good nutritious snack. And if they still want a little treat, they can have one then, and that's it. And that's kind of how I run my household. And the kids feel satisfied. They know when they're getting their treat. There's no arguments or complaints or screaming, and they don't feel deprived, and they're not missing out.
Right. And it's the kids, all they want on Halloween is they want the loot. It's not about the kid, because who can eat 7 pounds of candy? Nobody. Okay, except this one. But 7 pounds of candy. Nobody can eat 7 pounds of candy. They just want the loot and they don't want to be taken away. So another option too is you can change it for a quarter. You can change it for, you do an exchange, like 5 Reese's, get you like, go to the dollar store and get like a couple little toys, and then just do like a little barter system, like 6 Snickers bars, get you blah, blah, blah.
I mean, there's so many things you can do.
So many things, and the things is like, and then now we even have the candy that doesn't have all the additives and all this stuff, so you can even change it. They're dying for a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Great, okay, get little Justin's. You want Skittles, okay, get the Giggles. Like, so you can have a little bit, but there's no, and a lot of people say, but that's so expensive. I'm like, you don't need to buy 7 pounds of the alternate candy. Just a couple, and then the rest of it, use it, trade it, and you don't want to trade it for stuff, because I'm anti-materialistic stuff, is quality time. Yeah. The number 1 love language of all children is quality time. Yeah. 5 Reese's Peanut Butter Cups for 5 minutes with mom to play your favorite game. 6 Snickers, little mini Snickers things is with dad, because we're going to shoot basketballs outside. Whatever it is, so you can exchange it for quality time, and therefore you don't even have to buy anything extra, because really they don't want you to buy stuff. They want your time. They want your love and attention. They want to be seen and heard, and they just want one-on-one time with mom and dad. That's partner, mom, both moms, both dads, the parents.
Yeah.
Awesome. So try to like keep it simple, because a lot of people get bent out. Finances are tight for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So great, use it for something else. Okay, this time we're gonna go to the park. Whatever, you're making it up. A lot of these holidays are made up by the adults, so you can make up the consequences or the prizes or whatever. Again, they just want the loot. That's it.
Yeah. Don't participate in the holiday death aisle. That's what I call it, the holiday death aisle, where every holiday comes the same toxic in one big aisle full of artificial food dyes, TBHQ.
And they just change the color.
Soybean oils. They literally just change the color, like the outer wrapping.
Yeah. I'll make you guys feel better. For Halloween at my house, there's a giant cooler of water bottles.
Oh, I love that idea. I was just talking to someone about that, like having little water bottles, because the kids get so thirsty and they're running around the neighborhoods.
That's what I said. Yeah. And my husband was like, oh my... We're going to be that house? I was like, our house is modern. It sticks out. You're like, we know where she lives. So I'm not giving out candy of any kind. So I did the water. And then, so of course, all the kids were like, my kids were like, we're that house. Then can you at least put it on ice? Anyway, so I did this whole presentation at the end of the driveway on ice and a nice cooler. So my husband, we were their neighbors, and he's walking home to get something for our house. And he's behind 2 tween, I think anyway, 12-year-old girls, and they're walking up to the house, and they get to the house, and he's like, oh, I can't wait to hear this. And they're like, ooh, water. Oh, it's such a good idea. We're so thirsty. He was like, no.
And there's something about those little bottles of water. The kids love them. Like,
I know.
Because we don't have them all the time, like available at our house or like anything.
Oh, we don't use plastic. No.
So when my kids like go to a party or someone else's house and they have those, they're just like, Mom, can I please have one of those? Because it's like such a novelty.
Yes.
It's so funny. Anyways, I think I'm going to do that again this year too.
Yeah.
So yeah, great idea. So I'm so excited about this book coming out tomorrow. I just want to say tonight, we're giving away a free membership, a whole year membership to my meal planning service. Like, if there's anyone I know that shares more meal planning than this woman on social, I don't know anybody. Like, every week she's showing what she makes in advance for her family.
Should really make a meal planning service.
You should really do that. But I'm giving it away free when you order this cookbook today. It ends at midnight. So all you have to do is go to foodbabefamily.com, get your book, and then enter your receipt details, and you can join my membership for free, and you can be a member for an entire year. It's over $150 value.
Amazing. Amazing. Amazing.
So anyways, go get your book and get in the membership, because you're going to be surrounded by a community of people and have all the pantry lists and the grocery lists and the meal plans to help you live in this over-processed
But
world.
what you made, that makes life so much easier, because a lot of times, like, I hear mamas especially go, I know that I shouldn't buy that. I know, but what do I get at the store? Yeah. But how do I put it together? Yeah. Oh my God, so the meal plan is amazing.
Yes.
What an amazing idea. I
Yes.
love that so much.
I mean, this is how you implement, like when you see the crazy reels that are on my Instagram or on my Facebook, and you see the crazy information about these chemicals, I'm actually showing you how to implement this lifestyle and how to navigate all the crazy situations at parties, at schools, at Halloween, like we just talked about. And so I just want everyone to know that they're not alone, that we are in this together. We can be the next generation that teaches our kids the truth about the food industry. We don't dance around chemicals and ingredients. We teach them to read ingredient labels. We teach them that they need to know this information about food and what's been done to it so that they can make the best choices for their bodies. So with that, it is 10 o'clock on a Monday. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us here today. Thank you so much for coming over to my house.
So great to be here. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to really listen to this very important information about how to raise healthy kids in this unhealthy world.
Oh, I forgot to mention, guys, before we go, I just want to mention this cool thing. So yesterday, I just found out at Target, you can get this book, buy one, get one 50% off, which is the cheapest deal right now on this book. And so you can buy it for yourself and then spread the word. Give it to a family member or a friend you know that needs to eat better, or maybe that you saw eating Dominos or McDonald's or Chick-fil-A. Share this with them. And I just want to share one story really quick before we go, because this is so good, and I shared it with you the other day at lunch. There is a mom that I've been following online that I admire so much. She is incredible. She has 4 little boys. And Brooke, if you're watching or if you hear about this, I'm talking about you. I love her Instagram. She shares like how her household runs, like how she's homeschooling her kids. Like she's sharing all of this amazing information with moms everywhere of like how to like be awesome. And she shared the fact that she wants to teach her kids and feed them better. And she was actually reading my book that I sent her in advance at Chick-fil-A, of all places. And she had the guts, I couldn't even believe it, to share that video of her at Chick-fil-A. Her kids are eating Chick-fil-A and she's reading my book and she's like, I'm trying to do better. And so like, as much as you see someone and you love them on Instagram and you think their life is perfect, there's always something to work on, right? Like we all have that struggle in our lives of things that we have to work on. And I'm here to help you. And I want Dr. Anna Maria Temple to help you too. You got to go follow her on social media. She's on Instagram. She has the most incredible information about how to take care of your kids. I can't tell you, I use her page and her information all the time, and I'm always sharing it. So if you see that in my stories, it's from her. It's awesome. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. We're here to help. It's hard. We've done it. And you know what? A lot of times it's like follow the people that have already done it that can, and just copy it. Just copy all the things. That's why we're shopping all the different stuff and showing you all the, because we know it's hard. We know we're moms, we're working moms. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy out there.
So great to be here.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.